If you have ever wanted to know how to talk about the police in English, this English lesson is for you. You will learn what a badge is, what handcuffs are, and the difference between jail and prison, and so much more because this lesson is almost 30 minutes. Hope you find it useful. Let's get to our first word. It is a formal word, and it's something you might hear the police called police officer. So a police officer is one person who works for the police department or the police force. We will talk more about that in a minute. But a police officer is a person who works for the police department. Here's a sentence using police officer. Take a look at that picture. Looks like there is a police officer in a very big city, and poor little girl. She appears to be lost. She does not know where her parents are. So let's read this sentence here. The police officer helped the lost child find her parents. Yeah, so the police do all sorts of things. They try to help with crime, but sometimes it's just a little girl is lost in the big city, and that police officer, in English, we might say he is kneeling down to talk to that little girl. Kneeling down. He is on one knee. Kneeling. It has a K in it for some reason. Next one here. Look at this. You might hear this term as well. Cop. Cop. But be careful. Some police officers do not like that term. It is slang. It is a lot shorter than police officer. Cop. Cop is slang for a police officer. Some officers do not like this name. Some like it, some don't. But here's a sentence using cop. Cops work hard to keep the city safe. And if you look at that picture closely, that is a police officer from Lewiston, Maine, one of my favorite cities. Probably a city you've never heard of unless you followed the channel for a little while, because sometimes I do English lessons in Lewiston, Maine. Chief. You might hear that in English. Chief. Well, what does that mean? Chief. A chief is like the boss of the police department or the police force. So when you're talking about all the police officers in a city, you will hear police department or police force, and there's usually one boss. And that boss is a chief. Look at this man. He looks like he has a little bit of power there with his arms folded. He's got a badge on, a walkie-talkie. We will talk about those two terms in a little bit. But look at all the medals he has on him. Looks like he's won a bunch of awards. A chief is like the boss of the police department or the police force. And I'm sure the people who are police chiefs, or you might hear the chief of police. So she is the police chief, or she is the chief of the police. Both work. Chief of police makes many important decisions every day. Yeah, and police, you will never hear polices. No, the plural of police is police. So you can have a police officer, or you could say the police of the city. Police, not please. It's a little different. Please, could you pass me some water? Please. Then we have police. Police. Taking a sip. We were just talking about the chief of police or the police chief and how many decisions they have to make each day. You might also hear this. Detective. Detective. So I'm going to make the picture bigger, and get rid of this so we can talk about it. AI designed this image for me, and it looks like it's a crime scene. That yellow tape in the picture, we would call that police tape or crime scene tape. And it looks like those little yellow squares are talking about where the evidence is. Maybe it's a bullet, maybe it's an article of clothing. And you can see in the picture, there are some police officers who are in uniform. We might say they are uniformed officers. But there are other police officers there that are wearing normal clothes, like civilian clothes, you might say. They're dressed very nicely with nice pants, maybe a tie. Well, those people are probably detectives. What is a detective, you might ask? I have a sentence or two for you to explain it. A detective is a police officer who solves crimes. They might not wear a uniform, and they've probably been on the force for a long time. They are not a rookie. We will talk about what a rookie is in the next slide. But here's a sentence using the word detectives. Detectives look for clues after a crime has been committed. We use that verb all the time, commit, when you're talking about crimes. So if somebody goes into a bank and tries to steal the money, we can say they committed a crime. Rookie. I just mentioned rookie. What is a rookie? Let me make this picture bigger. If you look at this picture, you can see there are 5 police officers in the picture. The 4 in the back seem like they might be a little bit older. So we might call them veterans. Veterans, yes. You can use that for police officers. You can use it for teachers. So I am a veteran teacher. I have been teaching English for 21 years. But a rookie, it might be their first year on the job. You will also hear that with sports athletes. Someone who joins a team for the first time is a rookie. The people who have been playing longer, they are veterans. So in this picture, the police officer in the front, he looks a little younger, and it is possible that he is a rookie. A rookie is a police officer who doesn't have a lot of experience. Maybe it's their first year on the force. We just talked about rookie, right? Now let's talk about some of the things you might see on a police officer's uniform. The first thing I would like to talk about is badge. In the picture, don't look at the spelling. AI cannot spell. But look at the picture. That thing in English is called a badge. Right below there, a badge is a metal sign police wear to show they're officers. And a lot of badges, I think almost every one in the United States, if a police officer is wearing a badge, they also have a badge number. A badge has a number on it. Every police officer has a badge number. And sometimes you might see on YouTube or whatever, you might see somebody filming a police officer and they are mad at that officer. They may say, "Hey, I need your badge number." And the police will give them that number. What about this? Busted. You may not know this verb in English, busted. But when talking about the police and crime, busted is another way to say getting caught for doing something wrong. And in the picture, looks like this person might have been driving, let's say drunk. Maybe they had too many alcoholic drinks. They got into a car and then they got busted for drunk driving. It looks like that man can barely stand up. He actually might be missing part of his leg, but that's AI sometimes for you. They miss things. But I do like the colors in this picture, and I do like what it's showing. It is showing somebody being busted by the police. He got busted for stealing money from his job. Look at how sneaky he looks. He's looking out, making sure nobody is watching, but he's got money all over the desk. Yeah, this person is probably stealing money from their job. If you ever hear the word embezzlement, it's probably what that means. Somebody is hiding money from their workplace, embezzling money. I want to teach you red handed. Red handed. It's an idiom, has nothing to do with anyone's hand being red, the color red. But if you look at the picture here, well, police is spelled wrong. So don't look at the words, but look at the money, look at the police, and then look at the people in the middle. I think they just tried to rob a bank, but they got caught doing it. While they were robbing the bank, the police caught them. We would call that red handed. The bank robbers were caught red handed. Red handed means they were busted while actually committing the crime. Another example I like, getting caught red handed. There's no violence here at all. There are no guns. But let's say a little kid. They have a sweet tooth. They like snacks. And their parents told them, you cannot have any more snacks. So they go into the kitchen. When they think nobody is looking, they reach into the cookie jar, pull out a cookie, and their mom is standing right there watching them. They got busted red-handed. Got caught red-handed. It's happened to me before. How about this one? Arrested. You might hear this when talking about the police in English. It is a verb. Arrested is a verb that means taken to jail by the police because of a crime. And we will talk all about what might happen if you get arrested in the United States. Here's a hint. You will probably have your fingerprints taken, and you will probably have to take a mug shot. More about that in just a minute. You will also hear this. They are in police custody. You might hear in police custody if a person has been arrested and is still with the police. We're going to talk about booked in a minute. So maybe they will be released without being booked. That word custody also has something like maybe like ownership or guardianship, because if a couple gets divorced, they do have to worry about who gets custody of the child. That's another way you will hear custody. So maybe like the mom gets the child for the week, and then the dad will get custody of the child on the weekends. She was arrested for embezzlement and taken to the police station. So she must have been stealing money somehow. And it's not from a bank. You would say robbing a bank, but embezzlement, it's probably stealing from your workplace. Something else you might hear when talking about the police in English is this thing we call a warrant. A warrant. A warrant is a piece of paper from a judge that lets the police do something. So in the United States, police officers cannot just walk into your house. They need something called probable cause, which means like maybe somebody in the house is injured. They can enter that way. But if they don't have probable cause, they want to search the house for evidence, they have to get a warrant to search the house. And they can only get that from a judge. Even searching somebody's car, if the police can ask you, hey, may I search your trunk? You can say no. You can say yes. But if you say no, the police can't just go into the trunk of your car to search. Now, if you say no, and they think there is something in there that they should see, that will give them probable cause. They can get a warrant to search your trunk. So hopefully that helps. And here's a sentence with warrant. There is a warrant out for the man's arrest. The police cannot enter a person's house without a warrant. Remember, a warrant is a piece of paper from a judge that lets the police do something. Miranda rights are the rights police tell you when you are arrested. One of the first things police will say is you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do can be used against you. And at that point, you might hear the person being arrested say, I want a lawyer. That is one of your rights. When you get arrested in the United States, you have the right to a lawyer to help you with all the legal stuff that you might need. Also, you don't have to say anything. You can say you plead the fifth. Maybe you have heard of that, but it is a right of all people in the United States, the right to remain silent. I plead the fifth. That means you don't want to get yourself into more trouble by saying the wrong thing. If you get arrested, you might get booked, and you might have to have your fingerprints taken, and you might have to take a mugshot. Let's talk about what some of these things are. We use the term booked when your information is written down at the police station. She got booked at the police station. Her fingerprints were taken and she had to take a photo. Right there is a close-up of your fingerprints. It's what we call it in English. Those little lines at the tip of your finger, we call fingerprints. And you might have to put them on a sheet like this. It's a piece of paper that has people's fingerprints. Now, I haven't been arrested ever, but now I don't think they do the paper thing anymore. I think it's more digital. Like you put your finger on a screen and it will take your fingerprints so you don't get ink all over the tips of your fingers. Another thing you might have to do if you are arrested and booked is take a mugshot. We call that photo taken at the police station a mugshot. Some people will call their face a mug. It's a very old term. I mean, this is also a mug right there. Also a mug or a coffee cup. But sometimes you'll hear somebody's face being called a mug, and then they have to take a mug shot in case they ever escape. The police will know what they look like. How about this? His mug shot was front page news. If something is front page news, a lot of people are talking about it because every news channel is covering it. We had a very famous politician a couple months ago take a mugshot. I think it made world news. Bail. So if you get arrested, you will probably have to go to trial. You will probably have to sit in front of a judge and you have to tell everybody why you shouldn't be arrested, or you may have to go to prison. So another term you might hear when talking about the police's bail. Bail is money paid to leave jail until your court date. So if you get arrested, everybody also has the right to a speedy trial. But sometimes in the United States, it takes a long time to get to your trial. So you can post bail. It's the verb we would use. That means you give the police some money and then you can go home until your trial. Now, a lot of times, if the crime is really, really bad, like that person cannot get bail. There might be no bail for that person. Thanks to his brother, he made bail and was allowed to go home until his trial. And in the picture, it does look like this person is handing over some paper. In the back, you can see there's a a poster on the wall that says posting bail. Looks like that man, it could be his brother. He's like, hey, here's the paperwork. Here's some money. Let my brother out of jail. We will talk about the difference between jail and prison in a minute also. He was able to post bail and go home until his trial started. Let's talk about the next thing here. Handcuffs. I think that picture says it all. Most police officers will carry handcuffs on them. Handcuffs are those metal rings put on wrists to stop people from running away or punching police officers. Yeah, oftentimes one of the first things that will happen to you if you get arrested is that you will be handcuffed. Can be a verb also. Handcuffed. Cuffed and stuffed. Have you heard of this term? He was cuffed and stuffed into the back of the patrol car. I do have a picture of what could be somebody getting cuffed and stuffed. Most of the time, if you are arrested by the police, you will be put into the back seat of the car. But it looks like AI doesn't know that. Maybe they are getting to ride in the front seat. But cuffed and stuffed means handcuffed, put into the car. Another thing that police officers will use is something called a patrol car. You might hear police car as well. Here's a sentence below. You might hear patrol car or squad car for the cars that police drive, or you may simply hear police car. And that looks like it is in the beautiful city of San Diego, California, where the sun is always shining. They very rarely have rainy days. San Diego seems like a beautiful place to visit. How about this? The police car flew down the road with its lights flashing. Police car flew down the road with its lights flashing. And it looks like that car has pulled over. It is against the law to stay in the road if there is a police car coming down the street with its lights flashing and their sirens on. Sirens make the loud noise. So drivers in the United States need to pull over or get closer to the edge of the road so the police car can pass. If a police car has flashing lights, it might also have on its siren, which makes a loud noise to let drivers know to get out of the way. Get out of the way. We have business to do. Don't slow me down. Somebody is committing a crime or they need help. Police officers may need to use a nightstick from time to time. A nightstick is a heavy stick police use for protection. That's not the only word, though, for that thing in the police officer's hand. A nightstick is sometimes called a billy club or a baton. Baton is how you say that in English. I know it's French, right? Baton, a stick. But in English, we say baton. Baton. There is a city in the United States. It's a French name. Baton Rouge is how we pronounce it. But it literally means red stick in French. Baton Rouge, I think is how you say it in French. Rouge, red, rouge. Got to work on that French accent. The officer carried a nightstick on every one of her shifts. Shifts. That is the amount of time a police officer will work. They might work the day shift or they might work the night shift. Just to be clear, some officers work the night shift, not nightstick. Nightstick is what they carry in their hands, but they might work the night shift. You can imagine a lot of crimes being committed in the dark at night. The next thing I would like to teach you is something called a body camera. It's what we say in English. It's literally a camera you wear on your body. And most police officers will wear this to protect themselves if they are ever accused of wrongdoing. They have the camera there. And also, it can be used as evidence if somebody is resisting arrest. You might hear that term. If a police officer is trying to arrest somebody, but they are fighting back, punching, kicking the officer, so they can't put on the handcuffs, we would call that resisting arrest. Most police officers also wear a body camera, which is a camera police wear to record what happens. Looks like all of those police officers are wearing body cameras, at least one. But it looks like two of the officers might have on two body cameras. SWAT. You might hear that term, SWAT team. It is an acronym. An acronym in English means the word. Let's talk about SWAT right there. That word, all of the letters in the word stand for another word. I'm not sure what SWAT means. You will very rarely hear somebody say all of the words in SWAT, but a SWAT team is a special police force with big guns and armor used for the most dangerous situations. SWAT stands for Special Weapons and Tactics. That definitely looks like a SWAT team. They have on more protection or they have on more armor. They are definitely carrying bigger guns. And it even looks like they might have a light attached to their helmet. Yeah, so SWAT teams, only for the most dangerous situations. Jail and prison. A lot of people in the United States will use these terms interchangeably, jail and prison, but they are not the same. So let's talk about how they are different. Jail is not the same as prison, but both are where people are held when arrested. Jail is for short periods of time or waiting for trial. Prison is for long periods of time after a trial. If a person goes to trial and the jury finds that that person did commit the crime, they will have to go to prison. Congratulations, you made it to the end of a very long English lesson. If you are looking for more English, right up there is an English lesson I did all about household pests like rats and mice and cockroaches. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you like this lesson, please hit the like button.